Wooch, you got the HPs of the world, the Dells of the world, the Microns of the world. Where's the action in your part of the tech stack looking forward to 2026?
2026, it's actually, it's the storage space.
Yep.
Hard disk drive. I don't cover Micron. My colleague Jake Silverman covers Micron. But the Seagates and the Western Digitals are still going to be very, very hot next year because of all the AI and cloud demand.
Yeah, well, very interesting that you mentioned is storage very much a limitation, right? HP already flagging a margin hit from that space. Do you think Dell looks more or less exposed than HP heading into next year?
Yeah. Hey, Christina. So if you think about 2020, calendar 2026, HP already dropped their margin profile for the PC space for the second half of next year. Dell didn't do so. They think they're better positioned in the supply chain. Now, the one thing I will say that does expose them to downside risk estimates in 2026 if they're unable to manage the higher pricing. So, if they can't pass through the pricing, there is downside risk.
So, what are the PC makers saying about their demand for chips this year? What's kind of the top-down view? Well,
from the top-down view is, the company book right now is that we're able to better manage it. But if you look at it closely, they are very supply constrained, right? If we listen to Micron last week, there's only so much supply that's going to the PC makers as well as the server makers, all going to the AI guys. So what does it mean for the PC vendors, right? They're actually going to have to start rationing the way they deploy their memory into the PCs. And that actually might affect AI PCs, which is a higher margin, number one, as well as higher ASP business. So, we do have units going down in 2026 by 3% because of how they're going to have to ration the PCs.
And given that kind of supply constraint along the supply chain, who do you think has the greatest pricing power along that chain?
Well, the simple answer, Christina, is always Apple. Right. It's like when my kid asks for a PC and they want me to drop $2,000 for an Apple laptop or even for an Apple MacBook Air for $1,000, it's really tough to say no. And they have that brand power relative to everybody else.
Talk to me about Dell. I was just kind of looking through your research here. They return a lot of cash to shareholders, like much more than your typical tech company. What's kind of their strategy?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's growth plus decent margin, right? We're talking about a company that's able to deliver roughly about 6 to 7% operating margin, but they're also getting that with 25% to 30% growth on the AI server side. And even though it's a low margin business, something that's going to be about $40 billion at 5%, you're still getting a fair amount of net cash or net income, which translates to cash for the business. They're low on debt, relatively speaking. They're not highly levered, and any excess cash is going to go all back to shareholders.
Yeah, we did get an indication that AI adding some pressure to those margins. Talk to us about that in terms of Dell's outlook.
Yeah, and look, that's always going to be the case, Christina. They've guided for the next 3 to 4 years of 5% AI server margins. Mid-single digits, 5 to 7%. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, primarily because the size of the deals, as well as the competition to win those deals. And it's, quite frankly, it is refreshing that they're not giving out any outlook that's, unachievable. There is upside if the margin pressure starts to ease.
So I know you guys at Bloomberg Intelligence, Wooch, have some of the best industry data about where tech spending is going. What are the folks at IDC and others saying about, the next couple of years, and where's tech spending going?
Yeah, so no surprise here, Paul. It's all going to AI. So when we did publish our hardware outlook earlier, a couple of months back, essentially what we were saying was that AI servers is going to dominate much of that growth. And traditional servers as well as PC sales, it's going to grow in the mid-single digits. So, there's this big chase to win the AI race. Dell and Supermicro are very highly involved in that, trying to win a piece of that business. The rest of the business is going to in an upgrade cycle, but it's not going to be as dynamic.